No, you were fine.
Okay.
There.
Slick city streets, sinister faces casted shadow, the lit end of a cigarette, the femme fatale. When one thinks of film noir, these are the images that tend to come to mind. And although it is easy to list a series of images associated with film noir, film critics have had trouble forming any one concrete definition. Paul Schrader, a film critic and screenplay writer whose most notorious scripts included Taxicab, also appreciated the difficulty in forming a cohesive definition for film noir, and so went ahead and attempted to isolate those cinematic elements singular to film noir. Although there is no singular definition which meets the criteria held by all critics, Schrader identified certain key stylistic and thematic elements essential and often recurring in film noir. Let's look at style first. But even before we talk about style, the style present in film noir, it is important to look at the influential forces that inspired it. Film noir was heavily influenced by the German expressionism of the 20s. Films such as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, as well as the film Nosferatu, was what influenced film noir. Emphasis on chiaroscuro lighting, which is an art term that is characterized by the heavy contrast between light and dark, was a cinematic staple for cinematographers. When directors wish to convey additional meaning or significance to any one scene, the utilization of heavy shadows would often do the trick. For example, in the film The Maltese Falcon, in which the villainess, after murdering several men in the pursuit of the Maltese Falcon, a valuable statue worth much to many, is finally apprehended. Through the use of shadow, she's marked by the falcon, of which she so relentlessly pursues. When characters are, their faces or their figures are cast in shadow, they're demoted, their status is demoted to equal status with his or her environment, and helps create a fatalist, hopeless mood. Now, to move on to those thematic elements essential to film noir, that's instrumental to giving film noir its gritty and fatalistic tone is a hard-boiled hero. Schrader characterized the hard-boiled hero as such. Noir protagonists are seldom creatures of the light. They are often escaping some past burden, sometimes a traumatic incident from their past, or sometimes a crime committed out of passion. How the noir hero came to be can be traced back to the era of the Pulp Fiction novel. Raymond Chandler, a writer responsible for popularizing the private detective as well as countless of other authors, as well as the Black Mass magazine, which, interesting fact, served as the inspiration for Quentin Tarantino's film Pulp Fiction. The authors, as well as the magazine, helped establish thematic conventions which would later serve to inform future film noir screenwriting. Furthermore, film noir themes emphasize loss, nostalgia, lack of clear priorities, and insecurities. As Raymond Chandler put it, it is not a very fragrant world, but it is the world you live in. The numerous techniques and themes which exist in film noir make it difficult to form any single acceptable definition, but the recurring elements previously mentioned should help one differentiate, say, a crime or Western film from true film noir. Thank you.
So Natalie, what did you think?
I think overall she did a good job. I didn't catch the speaker statement right away, but as she was presenting, I understood it a bit better. I thought the information was very interesting. I would have liked to see her look at the class a bit more, instead of just like reading. But overall, I think she did a good job.
All right. I like the language and the visualization that you have at the beginning. It's really kind of evocative of the feeling that film noir is supposed to have. So I think you've got a good attention device there. You need a little work on the delivery of it, and that's kind of a problem throughout the rest of the speech too, because you have a tendency. I'm writing down at one point, I don't think you've looked at the audience once, and then you glanced up very briefly right at that moment and then went down again. So now I can't say you didn't look once. You did look once. But you need to talk to the audience a little bit more. I know some of it is technical stuff that you're looking at in your notes, and you've got these vivid descriptive language that you're reading occasionally. But remember, this is a speech. It's not an essay that you're writing for an English class that somebody's going to read. It's a speech that's being delivered to human beings that are in front of you, and they want to connect with what you are talking about. So the language stuff is good, but the presentation, I think, is a little bit off there. You need to structure the material. I think that you have a structure, but I don't think it's very clear as I'm listening to it where you're going. It sounds like you're going to focus on talking about style, but then you talk about influences, and then you're talking about themes, and you're bouncing around a lot on that. Internally, I thought that there were pretty clear transitions, but you need a preview, you need a structure that everybody can follow, and that's a little problematic. I like the fact that you used quite a few quotes from Paul Schrader. That's fine. The movie is Taxi Driver, not Taxi Cab, so make sure you get that correct, because Taxi Driver is a historic film accomplishment. Taxi Cab sounds like it's a horrible film starring Queen Latifah. Wasn't there a movie with, something like that. So there's a big difference between the two kinds of things. So you want to make sure you always get that right. Because if it's the guy who wrote that movie talking about this, I don't believe anything he said. Like I said, and I thought the definitional things that were good. The visuals, I think, are really good at establishing what you're talking about, the ideas and themes. It's easy for people to see what you're discussing. I like the definition that you had of the shading technique that's going on there. I thought you did a really nice job kind of explaining it with the one visual of the classical art and then showing us examples in the films and the way that's being used. I thought you did a nice job on that. So the visuals, I think, really supplemented the speech very well there. All right, thank you.